Well, here we are at the Glenn Davis Melbourne School of Design building, getting ready to see MSDx Summer. Each semester we put on a student exhibition of all the different design studios, the urban design studios, the urban planning studios, property construction and architecture and landscape, and it fills the whole building. So let's go see the exhibition from this semester, at the end of this semester, for the summer. There's always a bit of surprise and just wonderment when you come into the building with the MSDx exhibition, where the whole building becomes the exhibition stage. So from the ground floor where we are here, coming into the building, all the way up to level 4, the whole building's full of student work. Primarily on this level, as we come in from the ground floor, we're really looking at the work of thesis students, and that could be architecture students, it could be landscape architecture, it can be urban planning, and so forth. And really these big panels that you see hanging up across the space are really there to show the individual work of the students. This year we have a special sort of announcement, you might say, where we are celebrating the capstone celebration of our Bachelor of Design students. We finished a whole cohort who have gone through the new Bachelor of Design program, and we wanted to give a special announcement. So this plaque announces all the students who are graduating this year and have been part of that capstone experience in the Bachelor of Design program. As we come through, you can see how the different projects really just capture the whole space, and one is walking through a kind of maze of different projects, different students obviously, but also different kinds of projects, some very detailed and elaborate, some to deal with materials and different kinds of research, and different projects across different sites, whether it's in Melbourne or Australia or even somewhere else in the world. We really dedicate the main exhibition space, which is the Dulux Gallery, to the thesis presentations. And they're a mix. I mean, being a multidisciplinary faculty with architecture, landscape, urban design, urban planning, property, and construction, we really have this mix between these different categories of design and innovative architectural and urban redevelopments. This is really where you get a real sense of where the current design philosophies and current design directions are taking place across landscape, architecture, urban planning, and urban design. And the show that's in here really wants to highlight the quality of that. As thesis students who are now graduating and going to begin their professional career, this is an opportunity both to show the work that's been done, but also for the greater public to come in and see what our students are working on. These spaces are a mix of incredible drawings and renderings and plans, sections, elevations, but also physical models, research models, videos, animations, material selection. It's really a little bit about everything. This exhibition is up for 3 weeks. And after an incredible opening night with over 2,000 people in the space, we've had a continuous stream of visitors. A lot of parents coming in to see their students' work, a lot of professionals wanting to see which are the best students and who they might be able to bring on board as new employees, but also lots of other students from other schools and from undergraduates looking about what studios they might want to work with in terms of their master's degree. In filling up the building, we really wanted to give a sense of the variety and the sort of expansiveness of all that we offer here within our undergraduate Bachelor of Design degree and within our master's programs degree. It's really an amazing mass, a sort of quantity of work that you see, and the drawing styles and the representation skills just really cover a whole gamut of different possibilities of how to convey, how to develop a project, but also how to convey a project to the larger population and to the community. And many of these projects are situated within engagement with local communities. Well, now that we've covered the Dulux Gallery and most of the ground floor, we're going to go up the stairs up to level 1 to the large atrium space and look at the galleries and the exhibitions that are covering that space. So come ahead and join us. So up the big staircase from the ground floor up to level 1. Here on level 1, we really have a really captivating space. Even throughout the rest of the year, it's a fantastic space. But now with MSDx, and where every wall is covered with student work, it really becomes something else, something special. This central space, which can be seen from all the upper levels looking down, is in one sense a focus, but it's not the only focus. It's really just linking some of the work from our Master of Architecture studios, some of the Master of Landscape Architecture studios, some of the Master of Urban Design studios, and some of the Master of Planning studios. Again, the work is of different scales, different techniques, different materials, different ways of presenting it. As you can see, each of the different studios have their own decisions about how they represent the work in this public exhibition. We're fortunate with having good workshops here at the Melbourne School of Design and the Architecture, Building and Planning. And with that, you can see some of the fabricated models that are of different studios, really looking at how to fabricate and produce quite complex geometries, three-dimensional geometries and structures. And we've been able to achieve that by using the facilities here. It's quiet here now as we move through the atrium space on level 1, but if you can imagine going back about 3 weeks, this whole place was full of more than 2,000 people up and down the staircases on different levels from all the different angles and positions, participating in the opening and the celebration of the student work, but also really getting a chance to investigate how the different projects have been developed. The pieces that you see along this side all again come out of the workshops. We have different workshop electives in terms of furniture making, in terms of robotics and 3D clay extrusions, and other 3D printing technologies that are part of the Fab Lab and the various studios. The studios range from really large-scale models, as we've seen, big structural pieces examining different structural techniques, to really minuscule, really refined little delicate pieces, looking at iterations about the design and development of a particular building or a particular structure. And along with that, really delicate drawings, giving a sense of the atmosphere of a space, giving a sense of how the environment inhabits and commingles with the internal spaces, and trying to give a sense of how the construction might be. There's some truly amazing work here and really high quality work. And some of this might even be from the first semester of a student studying their Master of Architecture, or it might be from the last semester when they're ready to graduate. Projects and part of the exhibition come in all shapes and sizes, from really small, very delicate drawings and models to really large-scale drawings that are part of group work and that can be seen in larger exhibitions. And we'll be traveling, for instance, with the work that's being shown here from the Master of Architecture CDE Studio number 5. This work will be part of an exhibition in Shenzhen at the Shenzhen Biennale. Work of students, but producing these amazing, really colorful, really expansive drawings and representations. Now let's take a tour. We're going to go up one more level and see the work up on level 2, which is an extension of some of these Master of Architecture studios for architecture, landscape architecture, urban design, and planning. One of the wonderful qualities about the building that we have here is, again, with this big open atrium space, it means we get these views across, down, up, and around. So there's always a constant sense of location, but also of connection, that one is connected visually and even thematically across the building. On this level, within the studios, we have different exhibitions. This is one of the Master of Architecture studios, Studio 29, working on projects in the Docklands. Here we have an exhibition that's from a studio that included urban planning as well as landscape architecture. Looking at how cities operate at night. So effectively, this was an examination of cities, city life, city activation, but in the nighttime, not in the day. And a PhD project that was looking at material developments, really close engagement with how different materials operate together, and a sort of analysis of those materials and how they're manufactured, how they're fabricated, how they're delivered. More studios that operate between the master's program, Studio 4, but also Studio B, which is for the students that come in whose undergraduate degree is not in architecture. It's in something other than architecture, and they do an extra 2 semesters to bring them up to the same level as students who come in with a bachelor's degree in architecture. From the upper level of this landing for the staircase, you really get a sense of the expanse of the exhibition, not only down on level 1, which is the atrium level itself, but also up and across and up to level 3 and up to level 4, where the exhibition extends particularly with the Bachelor of Design students and their work. The work includes some of our design communications workshops, which are really elective studies course where students are learning to draw, to sketch, to use watercolor, to use different communications techniques for their work. And then we have a range of studios. Again, 2 different studios here, Studio 17 and Studio 39 in the Master of Architecture program. Very different programs, very different sites. But again, it's really about the quality of the work that we're interested in and being able to display this to a larger audience. We'll make a jump and head over to the other side. Continuing on, we have more exhibitions. This is a Master of Landscape Architecture, Studio number 4. And so you can see the work is different from the architecture studios. It's different from some of the other urban planning studios. But again, a huge array of work from an array of up to 14, 16 students. Back out in the corridor and here around the atrium, we also have work that comes in looking at urban planning and some urban design projects here. This work on the wall here is from Master of Landscape Architecture number 2, but also includes some urban planning and urban redevelopment thematics. And then we can head into here as part of the hanging studios, which is a really highly curated exhibition of Master of Architecture Studio number 2. Really beautiful work that comes out of every student having a model for their project and every student having 4 panels as part of the communication description of their project. Some of the most beautiful work, I think, of the whole exhibition, and the space itself is highly curated in terms of how the work is hung and displayed, really giving us, the students, a sense of how much discipline and rigor needs to go into both the production of the work, but also of how it's exhibited. This studio always has some of the most beautiful work on display each semester. We'll take a quick look over to one other exhibition space, which is a little bit off on the side, because I think it gives you a very different sort of flavor. And again, it probably gives a sense of how the building is used, even in a kind of non-traditional exhibition way. So within the design here of the MSD, the Glenn Davis building, we have on this wall back here, although it's sort of gray and just some windows, this is actually the historic neoclassical facade that faces onto the concrete lawn here at the University of Melbourne. And part of the structure is in fact this bridging lounge element, which is called the Level Chin Lounge. So it's really a place for students to study, but here in the exhibition, it's showing the work of Studio 36 for the Master of Architecture and Studio 21, also in the Master of Architecture. And this study table is now a display platform for the array of models and iterative development of the designs with Studio 36. Now we'll make the move to go up to level 3 and look at the work that starts to really be much more about our bachelor, our undergraduate degree. So the Bachelor of Design, which is effectively 12 different majors, which includes a major in architecture, landscape architecture, planning, property, construction, but also performance design, graphic design, and then some of the design through the engineering subjects. Here we can see, again, these are actually some of the Master of Urban Planning studios along this wall. But as we move along, we then move into some of the undergraduate as well as some of the graduate studios. The faculty also has a very large number of students doing their PhD, again, across these various disciplines. And so we also show some of the work of some of our PhD students here, particularly one dealing with architecture, but also looking at a wide range of descriptions of existing spaces, aspects of the work that are being developed over time and over a longer period. Here's some of the work from our capstone. So the final semester for the undergraduate degree, the Bachelor of Design degree with a major in landscape architecture. And these are some of their capstone projects. In the Bachelor of Design, particularly for architecture students, one of the core subjects that they take is construction analysis. And as you can see, this is really trying to understand how a building is put together, how the different materials join together, how they fit one to another. And so this is elaborated in drawing form, as you see here, but also it's elaborated in terms of some physical three-dimensional models. Again, really showing at a kind of very detailed scale exactly how the different materials are joined, what sequence they have, what layers have to be built on top of what other substructure and subframe. And aligned with construction analysis, we also have construction design, which is really going into documentation and understanding of construction systems. So more to do with the sort of build-up of construction systems. Have detailed drawings that go into the various aspects, really calling out the different pieces. We'll move down here just on the other side of the stairs before we go up to level 4, because we also have an exhibition here that comes out of the undergraduate, the Bachelor of Design subject for performance design. And in this case, it's really looking at sort of fashion, particularly in terms of costume design. So one of the subjects that students that are taking a degree in performance design do is one around costume design, looking at how various materials, how various structures, various design processes allow for costumes to be generated for various performance productions. Now we'll make that last trip up the stairs up to level 4, where the rest of the Bachelor of Design work can be seen. And as we move up the stairs, on the right-hand side, we have a poster for all of the degrees that are available within the Bachelor of Design. So between digital infrastructure engineering systems, digital technologies, landscape architecture, mechanical systems, performance design, civil engineering systems, urban planning, design and property, IT projects, graphic design studios, as well as architecture. And so if we start here, in a way we start at the end of the Bachelor of Design for Architecture with Studio Epsilon. So this is the capstone subject for those students who are majoring in architecture within the Bachelor of Design. And you can see really very elaborate, quite detailed plans for those students who are completing their last design studio in the Bachelor of Design for Architecture. We also have the last studio for landscape architecture in the landscape studios, which is entitled Designed Ecologies. And from the Designed Ecologies of Landscape Architecture, we move back into architecture, the Bachelor of Design Studio Delta, which is the penultimate studio for architecture students. Prior to Studio Delta, students take Studio Gamma, which is effectively the third studio in the sequence. And so these are primarily architecture students, but it also does include some landscape architecture students. So it's a studio in the Bachelor of Design that's shared between architecture and landscape architecture. Includes series of drawings, residential proposals in Melbourne, but also the models that relate to that and the study models that have been developed as part of that design development. And before Studio Gamma, we have Studio Beta. And Studio Beta is a design studio that's both for students who are studying architecture in the Bachelor of Design as well as landscape architecture. And so the projects are really of a scale that's right between it being an architectural proposition and a landscape proposition. And students studying architecture need to know more about the landscape, and students studying landscape architecture need to know about the architectural constructions and the proposals for that. And as an undergraduate subject, it's got a lot of students, and so we have a lot of work from this. Some of the very earliest analytic work, this is the start of the project, and then as it moves through the elaboration of particular proposals by different students. And then before that, the first design studio that a student taking the Bachelor of Design here at the University of Melbourne would take is Studio Alpha. And this is some of the work of Studio Alpha, which does include students who are majoring in architecture, landscape architecture, performance design, I believe graphic design, and some of the urban planning. So the earliest studio work, very sort of abstract, very small scale, but really beginning to understand the relationship of people, beginning to understand how some of the bits and pieces coming together, the scale of the body within the landscape, and how those different materials might be shown. And they include a range of models as well as the drawings. As we move along, we come back to some of the urban planning studios and various urban precinct planning studio that you see here above the computers. We look at some of the work and some of the displays that the undergraduate for construction have. So industry partner project studio and the work of the students working with industry partners on this. Again, some of the construction and industry partner project studio, some of the work looking at the new Footscray Hospital. We have an exhibition that's also looking at design and property studio, again, within the undergraduate degree. And this is a property capstone studio. And then finally, we come to the exhibition of some of the Bachelor of Design for Performance Design on the left-hand side here with different proposals, final proposals for the studios. You can see projects that deal with lighting, they deal with stage sets, they deal with how the different materials, but also the overall environment for a performance takes place. And these are paralleled then with work from the graphic design subject that's part of the Bachelor of Design. So for those students that are getting an undergraduate degree in graphic design, this is some of their work. It's been a quick run through. It's been a kind of quick overlay just to give a sense of how the MSDx, the Melbourne School of Design exhibition, which is both for undergraduate and for our graduate students, happens every semester. It's really a celebration of the students and their work because it's really all about them and what they've been able to achieve within a semester. But it's also about what we think is important here within the Architecture, Building and Planning and the Melbourne School of Design. And we want to make this possible for everybody to come and visit it. Thanks for being with us. I hope you've enjoyed the tour.